You're listening to the Pure Garbage Podcast, NBA edition, with Lex Cunningham and Mr. Smile.
All right, folks, it's that time again. We're going to be talking NBA. Steve Nash.
Yeah, well, this past week, Steve Nash got inducted to the Hall of Fame. Well, Steve Nash is obviously a Canadian basketball legend, Hall of Famer, two-time MVP, and just an all-around good dude. He's one of those guys who's inspired a lot of kids in Canada. Like, he's one of those guys, the underdog role, like the... Hey, I'm the small little point guard who never got recruited big time in the States, got one scholarship offer to go to the States.
Just one?
Just one. He sent out tapes to all the schools, and only one school, Santa Clara, even gave him a chance to come down on scholarship. Went down there, killed it in college, had a couple great games in the NCAA tournament. Yeah. Got drafted by Phoenix eventually, and then things went. He had his first couple of years in the NBA, he's actually a little bit of a bench warmer, not really playing, and his career really didn't take off till he got to Dallas. So he's just a great inspirational story for Canadian basketball players of Steve Nash, that this dude is just a little by NBA standards. Obviously he's like 6'3", but he's little for NBA standards point guard, and he went on to win 2 MVPs, and now he's in the Hall of Fame. So it's a good influence for Canadian basketball players.
Love to have Steve Nash on the podcast. I'll get you down here and
that'd be a beautiful thing, man. Right, that'd be a beautiful thing if we can get him on.
Maybe we can break out some grape juice afterwards. Okay, Hall of Fame.
Well, there's a couple other guys who went in this week for NBA wise. It's Ray Allen. There was who else was it? Ray Allen, Grant Hill, and Jason Kidd, and those are 3 great players. Yep. The one weird thing about the Hall of Fame though is like Grant Hill. Yeah. Grant Hill, if he would have played a full healthy career, he's a legit Hall of Famer. But he only had like 6 great years, and then he got injured. He messed up his ankle, and then it was the next. He played almost 19 or 20 years, I think. Ended up playing 18, 19 or 20 years, but he only had 6 great years, and only 6. And it's just one of those things. Now, how do you get in the Hall of Fame only having 6 great years? Are they giving it to him because he was a really great player for those 6 years? Is 6 years enough to be a Hall of Famer? Because it's one of those things where Grant Hill's a good dude, and he's Mr. Prim and Proper. He's one of those guys you think he could be president one day of the United States. But is he a Hall of Famer after 6 years? Because a lot of times you hear with Hall of Fame debates, like I make the argument Vince Carter and Chris Bosh, 2 former Raptors, are definite, probably first ballot Hall of Fame. Maybe not for Chris Bosh first ballot, but Vince Carter for sure first ballot Hall of Famers. And the blowback you get from the Canadian fans and this Canadian that Vince Carter is not no Hall of Famer. He's one of the greatest scorers of all time in the NBA.
Still in the league at 99 years of age.
Still playing today. Still can get up. He was the most influential player for like all the next generation of Canadian ballers. Like if you ask any Canadian, like Andrew Wiggins, Tristan Thompson, Corey Joseph, who's the most influential guy? Like Steve Nash is influential, yes, but for guys in the city of Toronto, Vince Carter is a dude that everybody like me growing up, Vince Carter was our Jordan. And it's one of those things where the hate he gets in the city, and it kind of like when they did that whole 20th-year anniversary and he came back and he shed a tear, all that stuff, the frost.
Shed a tear.
Yeah, the frost of the relationship kind of got better, but it's one of those things where people have to respect what Vince Carter did for the city. Like even like when I was a kid growing up, like I remember being the first kid to put up a basketball net in front of my house. Me and my brother begged our dad to put up a basketball. We're the first kid. Now if you drive down the streets, and especially after Vince Carter came to town, people had basketball nets on their houses. Basketball was a lot bigger. Yeah. And it's one of those things. He was a huge influence, and that's why.
And we'll one day do a Vince Carter strictly go through his game podcast. All right, folks. NBA draft. Steph Curry. Where do you want to go first, Mr. Smiles?
Oh well, Steph Curry. I'm just talking about his influence of the game. Like the 3-point shot in the NBA now has actually changed the game. Some people say in a positive way, some people say in a negative way. Like, do you want to watch a game where there's 40 to 50 3-pointer shot every night, or do you like a game where people are taking more mid-range jumpers and attacking the basket more? So now it's one of those things where the stat geeks have got involved in the game, and they obviously 3 is worth more than 2, and you do work out the mathematics of it. So the 3-point shot is more relevant in today's game. So now when you're drafting players in the NBA, you got to look, can they make an outside shot, or do they have a potential to be able to make the 3-point shot? Because in today's game, if you can't make the 3, you really can't be on the court anymore.
It's over.
You're a huge liability.
Yeah, I agree.
So this past draft, the one player that was up for a lot of debate was Trae Young. He's basically a reincarnation of a young Steph Curry. He's a guy, he's a gunner. Like when I say a gunner, he likes to shoot the ball. He got drafted by he got drafted by the Dallas Mavericks, and he got traded for another player, Luka Doncic, he's this European dude who's over the years, there's been a lot of hate for European players saying that they're mostly busts. There's obviously the Dirks and the Ginobilis.
It's just like
the Tony Parkers.
Just like back in the day in the NHL, they used to say European players were soft. Now, what's going on?
The whole Europeans are soft. They can't adjust. They can't play in the rough and tough NBA. But this new dude who got traded for Trae Young is Luka Doncic. This dude seems to be the truth. Now he plays on the Dallas Mavericks.
Yep.
This kid dominated Europe. He's only 19 years old. He dominated Europe. MVP of a lot of the European leagues, and this kid, they're saying, and I've watched, I haven't seen him play a full game.
He's only 19 now,
but I've seen a lot of YouTube clips of him and stuff like that, and he looks good.
Yeah,
he looks good, but
he's only 19 though.
Yeah, is he athletic enough to play in the NBA and like be an all-star? Because they're thinking this guy's going to be. They're trying to say he's a mini LeBron, and I don't know how you can make a mini LeBron because LeBron's not mini, but they're saying he's a mini LeBron or a LeBron version playmaker guy.
You love LeBron. And you love LeBron and Vince Carter.
Those are two of my favorite players of all time. So this isn't my comparison, though. They're saying he's a mini LeBron or Euro LeBron, which I don't see it. But
let's be fair here. He's coming from a European style of ball, not as aggressive, not a lot of mid-range stuff going on. Or there is, sorry, let me reverse that. There is a lot of mid-range stuff in European ball. Let's say the aggression is different.
Yeah, but the kid can play. Like from the YouTube highlights I've seen, I've watched like extended YouTube stuff on him. I'm not a big fan of the EuroLeague game, so it's hard for me to watch the EuroLeague. It puts me to sleep.
Who else do you have?
There's another kid, Mo Bamba. Now Mo Bamba, he's got actually one of the hottest hip hop songs around. For all you guys out there, go to YouTube, watch the video, or listen to the song. The song is actually called Mo Bamba. It's kind of a banger.
He's got a hip hop song and a jump shot.
No. It's not actually his song. It's a song about him, and it's a banger. But anyways, go to the club. It's a banger. But Mo Bamba, this kid, he's literally one of the longest player in the NBA right now. He's basically a 7-footer. He's got a 7'6", 7'7" wingspan.
What?
So when you see him he's one of those dudes who can stand up straight and scratch his knees. So it's one of those things where
help him.
This dude is a super long player, shot blocker. He's a little bit raw. But Mo Bamba. But eventually he's going to be able to shoot. They say eventually he's going to be able to shoot. He's eventually going to be able to shoot the 3. So It's one of those things where the NBA draft, there's a lot of incoming guys that are going to have an impact this year. Miles Bridges, the first pick, DeAndre Ayton. So it's just, and this one kid who the Knicks drafted, where typically if you watch the Knicks fans, when they're draft pick, they're always booing. This year, the guy they wanted was this kid, Beasley.
Yeah.
But they ended up taking this kid Knox, and this kid Knox is looking really, really good. You pair him up with Porzingis, and the Knicks could actually done something right. The two players they've booed the most was Porzingis and Knox, and they're going to end up being their two best players for the last 20 years, which is kind of crazy. So back to like that draft stuff. Then the player the Knicks fans wanted them to take was Porter, and they were begging for Porter. He was a guy who was potentially the number 1 pick, but he got injured. So they wanted Porter. They think he's going to recover from his injury, but they ended up taking Knox. They were mad about that, but Knox is going to be a stud.
So Nick Nurse and Valanciunas, they're apparently been seen having burritos together. What's going on?
Well, Nick Nurse is a big fan of Valanciunas. Like he's one of the guys who really helped in Valanciunas' development over the last year.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where Valanciunas is going to have a huge role on the Raptors this year, and it's
huge, massive.
He can be so good. Like the one point of Valanciunas that everyone should look back at is that series when they played the Heat a couple years ago in the playoffs. And he got hurt in, I think it was game 2 or game 3, whatever game. But the first game and a half he was playing, or 2 games he played, he was just so dominant. And we're like, okay, this is the Valanciunas that we took 5th overall, who's going to dominate. And he's never really got, and I think it's a lot of Dwayne Casey holding him back. Nurse is going to let him loose and let him be that dude. Let him be that beast. Let him dominate. And just bring the Raptors huge success. So I'm a Valanciunas guy. I love Valanciunas guy. I like he's got that chip on his shoulder. He's got aggressive, like he no back down in him. And it's anytime there's a beef, like anytime there's a pushing and shoving, there's no real fights in the NBA. But the fake fight, hold me back, as my boy Jalen Rose would always say.
Hold me back.
Hold me back.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where Valanciunas, you have to actually hold Valanciunas back because he will knock you out. So
he'll knock you the fuck out.
So it's one of those things where I hope I have a huge season out of Valanciunas.
All right, so Kawhi.
Well, Kawhi, again, I need someone to find some film on Kawhi working out this summer. Every player, not every player, but majority of players put their workout videos out or what they're doing in the summer, or there's somebody filming pickup games. I cannot find anywhere of film of Kawhi Leonard doing something on the floor. And all reports are saying he's dominating people. He's really healthy. He's 100%, and he's ready. And he's ready to have an MVP season. But us, the fans, we're clamoring to see it. We just want to see a
little video proof
of you doing something in the summertime. Because I know you're
on Instagram.
Yes, Instagram, anywhere, Twitter. Please, somebody
send it in a Pure Garbage Podcast at Twitter at Pure Garbage.
If you have film on Kawhi dominating in the summer, please send it because we want to see it, and I'm calling it right now. Kawhi Leonard, MVP. 2018-19 season.
You got a fever, son?
I'm just going off.
I told you not to come into my house.
The reports that are coming out that this dude is dominating.
You're talking shit.
Dominating LeBron and Durant in practice, not practice, but in pickup games. Are you talking
shit? Say that again. Hold on.
Definitely not.
I'll say it again.
I'm calling it right now. Kawhi. A lot of people have been talking shit about Kawhi for the past year, saying he quit on the Spurs. He step up and say something for yourself. You can't be a superstar for this quiet. And Kawhi's hearing all this stuff, and I think he's just stewing inside of him. And he's going to dominate this year.
All right, folks, you heard it from Mr. Smiles here on the Pure Garbage Podcast. NBA. Listen weekly. We're going to have Mr. Smiles as well as a lot of other great guests all throughout this podcast. The podcast, plural, all that stuff. Peace.